Okay, our next passage is titled From Because of Winn-Dixie. For the sake of time, I'm going to skip the unreal strategies, but I want you to still make sure, one, that you do it, and two, that you always look back for your text evidence. Alright, so because of Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie was not allowed to come inside the store. There was a big sign on the door that said, "No dogs allowed." So I held the collar and leash up to the window. And Winn-Dixie, who was standing on the other side of the window, pulled up his lip and showed his teeth and sneezed and wagged his tail, something furious. So I knew he absolutely loved that leash and collar combination, but it was very expensive. I decided to explain my situation to the main man behind the counter. I said, "I don't get a big enough allowance to afford something this fancy. But I love this collar and leash, and so does my dog, and I was thinking that maybe you could set me up on an installment plan." "Installment plan?" said the man. "Gertrude!" somebody screamed in a real irritating voice. I looked around. It was a parrot. She was sitting on top of one of the fish tanks, looking right at me. "An installment plan," I said, ignoring the parrot. "You know, where I promise to give you my allowance every week, and you give me the leash and the collar now?" "I don't think I can do that," said the man. He shook his head. "No, she wouldn't like that." He looked down at the counter. He wouldn't look at me. He had thick black hair, and it was slicked back. He had on a name tag that said Otis. "Or I could work for you," I said. "I could come in and sweep the floors and dust the shelves and take out the trash. I could do that." I looked around at Gertrude's pets. There was sand and sunflower seed shells and big dust bunnies all over the floor. I could tell that it needed to be swept. Said Otis. He looked down at the counter some more. "Gertrude!" the parrot screamed again. "I'm real trustworthy," I said, "but the only thing is, Winn-Dixie, my dog, he would have to come inside with me, because if we get separated for too long, he starts to howl something terrible." "Gertrude doesn't like dogs," said Otis. "Is she the owner?" I asked. No. He finally looked up. He pointed at the fish tank. "That Gertrude, the parrot. I named her after the owner." "Gertrude's a pretty bird," screamed Gertrude. "She might like Winn-Dixie," I told Otis. "Almost everybody does. Maybe he could come inside and meet her. And if the two of them get along, then I can have the job." "Maybe," Otis mumbled. He looked down at the counter again. So I went and opened the door, and Winn-Dixie came trotting on inside the store. "Dog!" screamed Gertrude. "I know it," Otis told her. And then Gertrude got real quiet. She sat on the top of the fish tank and cocked her head from one side to the other, looking at Winn-Dixie. And Winn-Dixie stood and stared back at her. He didn't hardly move. He didn't wag his tail. He didn't smile. He didn't sneeze. He just stared at Gertrude, and she stared at him. And then she spread her wings out real far and flew and landed on top of Winn-Dixie's head. "Dog!" she croaked. Winn-Dixie wagged his tail just a little tiny bit. And Otis said, "You can start Monday." "Thank you," I told him. "You won't be sorry." On the way out of Gertrude's Pets, I said to Winn-Dixie, "You are better at making friends than anybody I've ever known." Number 7. In paragraph 4, what does the word irritating mean? Before we answer this question, I just want to remind you that you are able to use dictionaries on the STAR test. However, using a dictionary is not the best option to go to. The best thing that you can use is your context clues, because although the dictionary will define the word for you, it won't tell you how the word is being used in the sentence. And so we'll talk more about that when we get to one of the other dictionary entry questions. But when you see an underlined word and they're asking you the meaning, the first thing that you need to do is try and use your context clues by going back to that sentence and plugging in the answer choices. So let's go to paragraph 4. Here we go. Gertrude, somebody screamed in a real irritating voice. Does irritating mean low? Well, if they're screaming it, we know that low is the opposite, so A can't be our answer. B, curious. Again, if they're screaming in a irritating voice, probably not going to sound curious. Nervous, again, is not something that you scream, and it does not describe irritating. The best answer choice here is annoying. So we're going to take our answer, and we're going to go plug it back into that sentence to check to make sure it makes sense. So, Gertrude, somebody screamed in a real annoying voice. That makes sense. That goes with our story. D is our answer. Number 8, the conversation between Opal and Otis in paragraphs 10 through 18 suggests that Otis is. So the first thing we need to do here is go back and reread paragraphs 10 through 18. Said Otis. He looked down at the counter some more. Gertrude, the parrot screamed again. I'm real trustworthy, I said, but the only thing is, when Dixie, my dog, he would have to come inside with me, because if we get separated for too long, he starts to howl something terrible. Gertrude doesn't like dogs, said Otis. Is she the owner? I asked. Yes, no. He finally looked up. He pointed at the fish tank. That Gertrude, the parrot. I named her after the owner. Gertrude's a pretty bird, screamed Gertrude. She might like Winn-Dixie, I told Otis. Almost everybody does. Maybe he could come inside and meet her, and if the two of them get along, then I can have the job. Maybe, Otis mumbled. He looked down at the counter again. So again, the question is asking us, the conversation between Opal and Otis in paragraphs 10 through 18 suggests that Otis is, so remember Otis is the worker. F, disappointed that he is not going to sell anything. This told us nothing about him feeling disappointed. It told us nothing about him trying to sell her anything. So F is not our answer. G, uncertain about whether to hire Opal. So this could definitely be our answer because he's kind of going back and forth trying to explain to her about how he thinks it's not a good idea and he's not really sure. So G could be our answer. We'll put M for maybe. H, ashamed of the mess in the pet store. Never did it say anything about his feelings towards the mess in the pet store or him feeling ashamed. So H is not our answer. Or J, worried about what Opal will do next. And he does not show that he's worried about her actions or what she will do next. J is not our answer. Our answer here is G. Number 9, in paragraph 25, the most likely reason Otis says you can start on Monday is that he. So let's look at paragraph 25. Well, let's look at starting 22, because just looking at 25 isn't going to give us our answer. So we got to back up a little bit. And then Gertrude got real quiet. She sat on top of the fish tank and cocked her head from one side to the other, looking at Winn-Dixie. And Winn-Dixie stood and stared back at her. He didn't hardly move. He didn't wag his tail. He didn't smile. He didn't sneeze. He just stared at Gertrude and she stared at him. And then she spread her wings out real far and flew and landed on top of Winn-Dixie's head. Dog, she croaked. Winn-Dixie wagged his tail just a little bit, and Otis said, you can start Monday. So, going back to number 9. The reason why he said that you can start on Monday is A, realizes that Gertrude is not bothered by the dog. Could be because first he said that Gertrude doesn't like dogs. Now he realizes that she's not bothered by him. So A is a maybe. We'll put an M next to A. B, wants to spend more time with Winn-Dixie. He didn't really try and spend any time with Winn-Dixie or even have any interaction with Winn-Dixie. So B is not our answer. C, knows that he needs help cleaning the store. Winn-Dixie's interaction with Gertrude had nothing to do with cleaning the store. C is not our answer. Or D, does not want Opal to suggest more ideas. And he did not seem to be bothered by Opal suggesting ideas. D is not the best answer choice here. Our answer is A. Number 10. What is the main message of the story? F. People who have courage will find that there is nothing to fear. Nope, has nothing to do with courage. F is not our answer. G. People who want to work for others must always keep their promises. It's not talking about keeping their promise. It's not what our story is about. G is not our answer. H. People who do not give up are more likely to get what they want. Could be. Opal didn't give up. She just kept trying to plead her case. And she ended up getting what she wanted. So H could be our answer. Or J. People who work hard are more successful in life than others who do not. This had nothing to do with people working hard versus those who don't. So J is not our answer. Our answer here is H. Number 11. Which of these events from the story causes Otis to consider giving Opal a job? A. Opal finds a leash and collar that Winn-Dixie likes. That has nothing to do with Otis considering giving Opal a job. A is not our answer. B. Otis explains that the parrot does not like being around dogs. That does not cause Otis to consider giving Opal a job. In fact, that's the reason why he didn't want to give her the job. So B is not our answer. C. Otis learns that Winn-Dixie howls when he is away from Opal. That did not cause him to consider giving Opal a job. Has nothing to do with it. So C is not our answer. D. Opal mentions some chores that she could do at the pet store. That is exactly what happened. D is our correct answer. And we can find our text evidence for that in paragraph 8. Or I could work for you, I said. I could come in and sweep the floors and dust the shelves and take out the trash. I could do that. So this is what you would highlight with your highlighter to prove your text evidence. Let's see. Number 12. So D was our answer there. Number 12. What is the best summary of the story? F. A girl finds a collar and a leash that she likes in the pet store, but she realizes that they cost too much money. She asks the worker if she can make a plan to pay for them. He tells her that the owner wouldn't like that idea. A parrot keeps interrupting their conversation, but the girl continues talking to the worker. So those are all things that happen in the story, but what happened at the end? This doesn't tell us what happened at the end. It's missing the ending of the story. So F is not our complete summary. Remember, a summary is beginning, middle, and end. G. A girl wants to buy a collar and a leash at a pet store, but she does not have enough money. She asks if she can pay over time, but the worker says no. Next, she asks if she can pay by working in the store, but the worker is not sure. He agrees at last after he sees how well her dog and the pet and the store parrot get along. Yes, that is telling us the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the end. And it's all in the correct order. So G could be our answer. We'll put an M for maybe, and let's read the rest of our answers. H. A girl takes her dog to the pet store one day. She leaves her dog outside and goes into the store to find a leash and a collar. The girl meets a worker and the store parrot named Gertrude. The parrot does not like the dogs, but the girl thinks it will like her dog because her dog is very nice. These are all true, but we are missing the part where she is trying to get a job to pay for the collar. So that is not giving us a full summary. H is not our answer. And J. A girl chooses a leash and a collar that she likes and shows them to her dog. She wants to buy them, but she doesn't have enough money. The girl notices that the store needs cleaning, so she offers to clean the store to earn money to buy the items for her dog. And again, that's a close summary, but it's not including all of the important parts. We are missing the part of the middle and the ending. So our answer here is G. We are now going to stop here before the next passage to do another brain break.